Hello.
How are you, my
Really
darling? See,
Lovely
come
to
and
see you.
sit down and let's get into your gut diaries.
Great.
So, I understand that your journey, your kind of ill health journey, started when you were very young, wasn't it? Like seven.
Yeah, 7.
So, how did that? What was going on? What happened to you?
So I was 7, and I'm not going to say who it was, but they basically, I was a kid and was camping, and I was really hungry, so I wanted to have like a second meal. Obviously, you're 7, you have no, you know,
growing.
I was told that I couldn't have a second meal because I was overweight. And then I was taught about calories and how maybe I should start thinking about that. And obviously at 7, you're kind of like, oh my goodness, like this is a whole new world for me. And then, yeah, I carried on from 7, and then it just, I guess, just got worse and worse and worse. And I kind of look at 7-year-olds now and I'm like, oh my goodness, I was so little and like so, I suppose innocent to it all. But yeah, it's wild, 7, and now I'm, 32. So it was a long time. I guess my whole entire world then was just taken over by, I guess, what I looked like. I genuinely can't remember looking in a mirror and actually liking what I used to see. Like now, the last few years I've been fine, but I can't remember. I couldn't tell you, which is actually really sad when I think about it.
It is. I mean, it is really sad.
I mean, I think there's elements from 7 probably having body dysmorphia because I look in a mirror and will see something completely different to what someone else will see. But then if someone takes a video of me or a picture of me, I'm like, oh, I actually look all right. But if I look in a mirror, I'm like, oh my, like I'm clearly seeing something completely different.
Yeah. It's interesting that one comment like that when you were 7 years old, one thing has had an effect on your whole life. And I've worked with, you know, when Trini and I were doing shows, the amount of women who had body dysmorphia, eating disorders, low self-esteem, all came from one comment. And it might have been a grandparent, it might have been a friend from a parent, it might have been a sibling.
What's interesting is the comment that was made to me when I was 7 was a family member. And I then addressed it not that long ago, actually, maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
With the person who said that to you.
Finally said it, yeah. And what's really funny is that they didn't remember it.
How did they react when you mentioned this to them?
Pretty distraught about it, actually. Like that, because they also, that we're really close, so they've obviously seen me struggle my whole entire life. It was a tough conversation to have because there's no part of me that's ever going to want anyone to like feel bad because they would have never meant it. Of course not. Like you're not going to say something that's going to give someone like a long-term eating disorder for the rest of like pretty much their whole entire life. But yeah, I'm glad I addressed it, and I felt better since actually since mentioning it. It kind of gave me a bit of sort of, I guess, a bit of closure on that. So yeah, it's just fascinating they won't remember.
So when from 7, was it just a case of you being conscious of what you ate, or were you actively holding back from eating food?
I think the actual eating disordery part of it, I think started at, say, 14 or 15. But mine was never about not eating, to be honest. Mine was about how to get rid of food.
Okay.
So laxative abuse is probably my biggest thing. So I think, and it's such a weird one to talk about because bulimia, anorexia, they're like things that we know they're there. And I think a lot of young people, especially because I was in the acting industry and the fitness industry, to be honest, it's so normal, not normal to talk about, but I know so many people that have whereas
it happens all over, tragically.
all the time, actually. And but laxative abuse is something that people don't talk about, and I've only really started opening up about it in the last few years, just because I guess it's a bit of a, laxatives make you go to the toilet, and people don't like talking about poo, really. But when I discovered them, it wasn't like, I wasn't taking 1 or 2. We're talking like 20 in a day or 30 in a day. Like I nearly died. Like they're really unbelievably addictive. I think they're more addictive than like some people taking drugs, to be honest, because you instantly weigh less. It got really bad. I relapsed really badly in lockdown 1 because I think it was like when we had like COVID lockdown 1 because it was the only thing I could kind of control. And there was no one really there to watch me.
So it wasn't anorexia.
Not really.
And it wasn't really bulimia because you didn't.
No, it was. It was. Yeah, it was how to get rid of food. So mine was more like being sick. It all started being sick, to be honest, and then making myself throw up. And I've had so many relapses over the years. Like I've stopped and then gone back to it again. Or it's all very secretive. Like the whole entire thing is like, I would never ever say what I was actually doing. I either had a tummy ache, or I had food poisoning, or I felt ill, or I'd convinced myself that, like, you know, I needed to be. There was always a reason to be sick, and then you believe your own lies, and you just live in this little world of kind of pretending all the time, and then.
Do you find that? By the way, I completely identify because I'm in recovery from alcohol, so it's at the end of the day, it's an addiction of sorts, but just manifested in a different way. Ruby, when did your road to recovery start?
I probably only really fully started recovering in the last probably 6 months or to a year.
Okay, well that's
Which
fantastic.
is pretty, but only because I'll have done really well for years, and then I'll have a blip, and then it goes back to the beginning again. But it might only last a week.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, I'm not going to be hard on myself. It's been a week. You're fine. You can drag yourself out of it.
And it's pressing the reset button.
Yeah, and I think I'm proud of myself that I can do that. And I have tried things. Like, I did try going to doctors when I was younger. I did try and get therapy. I was told by a doctor years ago when I was 18 that I didn't look ill enough to have an eating disorder, and that put me off royally, which is terrible.
Wow.
I know, it's really bad. And I would never forget that, because I really did try and get help. And then I just literally said I didn't look ill enough, and I was like, all right, fine. Which is fascinating, because you can be any size and have an eating disorder, but anyways.
And I'm sure now, feeling healthier, not forget how you look, but feeling healthier is the one thing I would imagine that is going to keep you on the straight and narrow, because you're not wanting to go back and having
I don't want to do it again. I'm actually going to the toilet normally now, which I love. I'm like almost like a poo party every time I go to the loo, because I'm
Did
just so
Simprove help that?
Yes.
Food normally. So how did you come across Simprove?
I can't remember. I think it was like a Deliciously Ella advert on Instagram. I'm pretty sure it was, with the code. I was like, oh, a discount.
Yeah.
And so I thought I'd try it, and then I was like, so good, and it really works. And my gut has been great, and like I go to the toilet normally, and I really do. And it sounds so ridiculous, but because for years you're just like basically pooing out water, pooing out water, and it's just always goo. Now, like, when I do a proper poo, I'm genuinely really proud of myself.
Yeah.
It's actually quite joyous.
No,
and I'm like,
I understand that.
I literally send like selfies on the loo to my friends when I've done other poos.
Yeah.
So yeah, Simprove has been great for it, 'cause it's the one thing that genuinely actually has worked. Like, I've tried other stuff and they don't really do anything.
Yeah.
But this is just
worked in what way? And is it worked in any other ways apart from just your constitution?
I also think it's helped, like, because your gut is so linked to your like,
emotions.
mental state.
Yeah.
And in general, I am in general a very happy person. Like, I smile this time, and I'm like, I don't take life too seriously, and I make jokes out of everything. But yeah, my actual mental state has been a lot better. Like, I feel like it's all related, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Everything's really bad. And I actually noticed when I stopped taking it, it does actually make a difference.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is weird. And I don't like not being able to bring it on holiday with me, because if I'm, trying to save money, I don't want to pay for a bag, then I have to somehow work out how to get how many 100 mils of Simprove can fit into this.
But so much better having Simprove than laxatives.
I know. Oh. And it tastes good as well.
Yeah.
So it's like my little shot in the morning. So I really enjoy it. And I've got so many people into it as well, because I think I'm like your classic story of someone who royally ruined their gut and then found something that's like really helped. Yeah, it is amazing. As much as I'm a PT and I'm very easy to give advice, I'm sometimes like, it's fascinating when you eat well and take something really good for your gut, how much better you feel. I honestly wouldn't wish what I've done and been through and how I've seen myself. I wouldn't wish that on anyone ever. I wish anyone that ever watches me talk about any of this stuff, please, if you're taking laxatives or you're doing anything like that, just either get help or like, talk about it to your friends, because it's
dangerous.
Just such a horrible existence.
Yeah.
And it's very lonely.
I am so grateful to you for sharing this, because I think it's a really important message that you're putting out there. So thank you. All right, Ruby, we get very lucky to be able to invite Dr. Chris to come and chat to us now. Come on in, my love.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hi.
So he can shed even more light than you have on this, I hope. So how do laxatives affect gut health?
Yeah, so it affects gut health in lots of different ways. So by taking laxatives, laxatives is a generic term, but actually they function in different ways. So there's ones that soften stool, ones that draw in water to help you pass stool. And the way that they function actually affects the way that they affect the body. So for example, with some laxatives, you can actually get problems in terms of the mucus lining along the gut, which helps to It helps to basically move stool across through the bowel.
Smooth move.
Yeah.
How can it affect the rest of us and the way we think and how we feel?
What we know with eating disorders is that actually it's not very common that people report it. There's a lot of shame, some stigma around it. And it's actually fairly common. 1.25 million people in the UK have an eating disorder. So it's a huge number.
Gosh.
But not everyone reports it, which is the issue in terms of making sure we can treat people, because the earlier we treat eating disorders, the better the outcome is. So it's really important that when we know that someone's struggling, that we actually offer help. So it's a shame that the GP wasn't there for you at that time, but it is important that people reach out and get help.
So how does the gut affect the way you're thinking and your mental health?
Yeah, so it's really exciting because there's more and more research out there now looking at the effect of mental health on your gut health as well. And the two seem to be quite connected, actually. And there's various things that we've been looking at. So first of all, the gut microbiome, that can actually be changed by how you're feeling. So in terms of anxiety, sometimes some of the composition of the gut microbiome changes, which has been really interesting. And it's one of those avenues that we're looking into more and more now.
So that's just not, so it's not just a physical onslaught or change that can affect it. Your mind can affect it too.
So they actually call the gut the second brain because of that reason, because so many connections and so many nervous systems there.
Which makes sense, actually, because whenever I've relapsed, my then anxiety goes out the window. Like, it's horrendous, in which it makes sense. But I never put two and two together before. But yeah, whenever I've relapsed, I'm just an anxious mess of.
Yeah, that's interesting because you actually have that direct link between the brain and the gut in terms of your vagus nerve, and that is controlled basically using parasympathetic nervous system, and we say that that controls resting and digestion. So when we're anxious, there's less sort of parasympathetic supply going to the gut, so you're less likely to rest and digest. So that stress is passed on to your gut and actually affects function.
So the gut is like an engine then, isn't it? It's like the engine that keeps you fueled and keeps you going.
Yeah, it's a bit of a factory engine, keeps the energy coming in, keeps you functioning at your optimum, really. So it's important that we look after it. And there are various things that you can do in terms of lifestyle and holistically as well. So I think the first thing is to be kind to yourself, which I think is one of the things that we all need to maybe do and practice. And then look at the ways that we can improve that sort of rest to digest parasympathetic nervous system, and things like yoga, meditation. Really important that we kind of take time out of our busy schedules to really look after our mental health, our gut health, and support it so that it's there for our overall health.
Ruby, it's been so lovely to see you. Thank you so much. And thank you for watching the Gut Diaries. See you next time.